Fractions can be challenging and seem complicated, but fractions are the easiest concepts in mathematics. A fraction is simply part of a whole, to mean one. A fraction is made up of different parts, a number on top of another number, like this, or numbers on top of other numbers, like this, separated by a tiny line called the fraction bar. The number below the fraction bar is actually called the denominator. The number on top of the fraction bar is called the numerator. Very important terms. Remember them as we continue. Let's talk about comparing fractions. We have fractions with same denominators, and we have fractions with different denominators but same numerators. I will start with fractions with same denominators. When fractions have the same denominators, like this and this, the rule is simple. We just look at the numerators. The bigger the numerator, the bigger the fraction. The smaller the numerator, the smaller the fraction. But let's put this into perspective. I have two pieces of paper of the same size. I will decide and divide it into 4 equal parts, like this and this. If I shade 2 parts to represent this fraction, and this side I shade 3 parts to represent this fraction, look at them. You realize that the shaded part on this side is bigger than the shaded part on this side, meaning that this fraction is bigger than this fraction, taking us back to our concept that the bigger the numerator, the bigger the fraction. The smaller the numerator, the smaller the fraction, if denominators are the same. What if the denominators are different and the numerators are the same? Like this and this. From the numbers, you can see that the smaller the denominator, the bigger the fraction. The bigger the denominator, the smaller the fraction, if the numerators are the same. Now, let's look at fractions with different denominators and different numerators. For example, this and this. Let's go back to our papers. 2 equal papers, but this time we are going to divide this paper into 4 equal parts because that is the denominator. And this one will divide into 5 equal parts because that is its denominator. We will shade 3 parts of this paper to represent this fraction and shade 2 parts of this paper to represent this fraction. Let's look at the shaded parts. This part is actually bigger than this part, meaning this fraction is greater than this fraction. Let's look at a different method. When we have different denominators and different numerators, we can use papers. But what if we don't use papers? We can use what we call LCM. I'm simply talking about multiplication tables. The multiples of numbers. We have the multiples of 4 and we have the multiples of 3. The multiples of 4 are this. The multiples of 3 are this. Now, if you look at the multiples, they are those numbers that appear in both lists. We have 12 and 12. We also have 24 and 24. But we are looking at the list. LCM means least common multiple. We have the multiples. The common ones are 12 and 24, and the least is 12. What do we do with this LCM? We can decide to use the LCM to get a common denominator of this fraction and this fraction. We multiply 4 by 3 to make the denominator 12. What we do to the denominator is the same thing we do to the numerator. So on this side, we will have 9 over 12. And on this fraction, we will have 8 over 12. Wow! We are back to fractions with same denominators. The rule says the bigger the numerator, the bigger the fraction. The smaller the numerator, the smaller the fraction. We can learn this together. Until next time, see you.